Live. Okay, we are live. All right, welcome to BuffaloPlus.com. Our YouTube page, Mike Catalana, is in Kansas City. Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. All right, we are closing on in, but Mike, I know you flew out to Kansas City today. You had a pretty lively flight, huh?
They were, yeah. It started I flew through Charlotte, which is Buffalo South, anyhow, and
Yeah.
and everybody's lined up. They'll say like, Zone 4, Zone 5, and then all of a sudden it's Let's go Buffalo. The chants are starting, and then it goes in the plane. One guy started the chant today at the moment, like when we're taking off, which I don't think they really want you doing the Bills chant while the plane is taking off. They were pretty fired up. A lot of Bills fans, a lot of them, and fans who have shown up without tickets, looking for tickets. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see tomorrow as they're trying to find tickets tomorrow. But people have spent $600, $800, $1,000 plus to come see their Bills try to play to go to a Super Bowl, guys.
But not only that, it's them taking a leap of faith to get those tickets. Like, imagine shelling out $1,000 to fly to Kansas City with no surefire bet that you're going to see the game at Arrowhead.
Okay, so where I'm standing here doing our live shots at 6 o'clock, and these four guys show up, they drove 17 hours from Buffalo. Wow. They don't have tickets. They're just here. They're going to try to find tickets. Well, tonight they're trying to find a bar, which is probably where they're going to be watching the game tomorrow. But they just felt like they had to be here. And I said, how long did it take you? He said, about 17 hours. Like, let's go Buffalo.
Say 17. Well, we were talking about it. We had you earlier on in our shows on 13 Wham. Yeah. But this is kind of an anniversary in terms of this was in 1994 when the Bills beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. And Mike, you were also at that game too.
Yeah. And, you think about it back then, just picture where the Bills were then, because you could really compare this Bills team to one that's sort of forgotten about. And that was the first Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed team that made the AFC Championship game and played the Bengals because they were young. They hadn't done it before. And then they lost the next year. Then they came back and it was 4 in a row. So we're talking about playing the Chiefs. The Bills had just been to 3 consecutive Super Bowls and lost. And they came back again. And they beat Joe Montana in the AFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl. You think about what
knocked
it took
him out
for that team to keep fighting. Yeah, literally, he got knocked out of the game. So that was a different type of team, but it was Kansas City. Hey, look, the Bills beat Elway. They beat Marino, beat Montana to go to the Super Bowl in those years of those wins. So, maybe this team will beat Mahomes.
Dan, I was asking in the chat earlier, like, how's everyone feeling? And I loved the response. I don't remember who said it, but said, ask me in 27 hours. Because I just feel like as we're getting closer, there's so many nerves associated. And like for the players, how do you feel like they must be feeling?
Well, it's interesting. It is going to be that factor of compartmentalizing this game and to try and do their best to keep it like it's another week at the office. Deion Dawkins talked about it and just understanding that it wasn't until a reporter asked him just how big of a game this was and just the understanding that Sean McDermott says it was business as usual this week. And I loved Micah Hyde's answer, Mike, where he said sometimes what you don't know is okay. and that when you're in this big of a game, he goes, some of these guys don't understand the magnitude of playing in a championship game, Mike.
They don't. And if they just play it like a regular football game, they'll probably be better off. Harrison Phillips was really interesting because he hasn't been playing. He didn't play last year in the playoff game. So he's very excited. But he also said, I hope the guys sort of smell the roses out here and say, wow, we are in a championship game. Enjoy the moment. I think you can do both. I think you can realize it's a game. You got to play your game, but also enjoy the moment. Also be saying, like, this is the AFC Championship, and what's standing in front of us is the Super Bowl. So I think it is a combination. I will say the leaders on this team, when you're talking about Allen, Diggs, Jerry Hughes, those type of players, Hyde, Poyer, they've treated it like regular games. I mean, look, they've been in a few playoff games now, and Hyde's been in big games, in NFC Championship games. Stephon Diggs has been in one. So they've been in big games before, but as a group, no question, this is the biggest.
Yeah, I loved what Deion Dawkins said, though, when he said that this was like a regular game, but with glitter on it. I just think that's hilarious because they're trying to continue that business as usual type of narrative. But you mentioned a guy like Harrison Phillips saying about the opportunity and smelling the roses. And we heard from Jerry Hughes about how appreciative he was and how this wasn't guaranteed. But Dan, also Jerry Hughes' message just about the national spotlight, what has been said about the scene. We know the Bills are technically underdogs heading into tomorrow, but Jerry's message, it wasn't surprising to me. But Dan, what did you take away from what he said?
It was surprising to me, the fact of how stern Jerry Hughes was. There have been times where guys have made passes at the media that they've said, oh yeah, we heard what people said, all of that stuff, And I feel like for years it's been like, oh, we're just Buffalo. Like nobody really, it's just Buffalo, all the stuff. Jerry went like full on. The world's against us. All the experts are picking the Chiefs, and just everything that was a really stern thing where we joked around about last week, guys, talking about how Matt Milano gave the Ravens motivation by saying they could hopefully contain Lamar Jackson, and Baltimore went nuts. And then to have Jerry Hughes come out and say pretty much, you want to know what? This is how we're going to win. And people are going to keep doubting us. And as they keep doubting us, we're going to keep, quote, punching them in the mouth and just keep winning. He didn't tiptoe around the fact that he was mad at the media or that the media was motivating them. Mm-hmm. And guys, on the other side, I don't know if you heard yesterday, Tyreek Hill did everything he could to try and not make bulletin board material until he did, when he said, you know what, at the end of the day, when you go to the Super Bowl, the Chiefs will be in it. And I've seen people comment in that the Chiefs have already planned a parade. People have already talked about that the Chiefs already have their apparel ready at their team store. This is two teams right now that have very big egos. One, because they're up and coming, and the other because they've been here before. Different dynamics, Mike, of the up-and-coming team. This is kind of like what the Chiefs were, now that I think about it, 3 years ago when they went up against Tom Brady, right?
Yeah.
And they should have won that game right here. They should have won it, and they didn't. And then they came back again. And this is what teams have to learn how to do. But I will say this. You need a level of arrogance if you're going to come into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs, right? You can't just walk in here. You got to come in saying, we're the better team and we're going to win. And I don't mean an arrogance to the point of not taking the game in the way it should be. I mean, Kansas City have 3 years in a row to be in the AFC Championship game is pretty special. And they won it all last year. So give them their respect. But if you just look at the way the teams are playing right now coming into this game, the Bills have been better. I mean, that's just being honest in what we've seen. The Bills have been better. So they should feel like when they step on this field tomorrow, they should feel like the better team. Now, it doesn't do you any good to say it publicly because all that does is maybe add something for the other team. But I think they should feel pretty good about themselves. And you know what? People get mad when anybody picks against the Bills. Look, it is the Chiefs they're playing tomorrow, but these are pretty even teams, and you're going to see a split in who people are picking. I think there's going to be a lot more people than you think jumping on the Bills tomorrow.
So Jen, I just wanted to get to this comment, and Obi Finest saying that the toe will play a part. I'm assuming that Obi is talking about Patrick Mahomes' toe. And earlier this week, I would have said the same thing, and I was saying the same thing, that the toe was going to be a big factor. Until I talked to Warren Sharp yesterday, and he had mentioned how because Mahomes was out there, and even though he didn't look like he was 100% at practice, Mike, the fact that he was still out there was a good sign that they weren't overly concerned. And then he talked about how the fact that he looks like he's 75% now without getting his toe shot up with a painkiller of some kind means that he's probably going to be 100% with a painkiller on Sunday, which is one way to look at it, because he goes, Warren Sharp, really smart NFL analyst. If you want to hear the whole entire conversation, really interesting over on BuffaloPlus.com, that if they were overly concerned about the toe, they would have rested him all week and then tried to get him out there for warm-ups before the game and then shot it up. The fact that he was doing some things means that they're pretty confident that with a numbing shot, he's probably going to be close to 100%, Mike.
You sure Warren Sharp didn't just mean that's going to keep Mahomes from running because no one should run the football in the NFL?
Nobody should run the football, especially on first down.
Yeah, Mahomes is going to be fine. You know, does it bother him? Yeah, there's always something. Oh, they're coming to get me. Helicopter over the top. There's always something that bothers players when they're on the field. But go back to last Sunday, and when Mahomes is wobbling, getting up, just the fact that he is playing in this game is obviously massive for the Chiefs. But I think it's great for the Bills too. And I mean that in a sense of, yes, you want to go to the Super Bowl. But if we were getting ready for this game tomorrow and it was Chad Henne in the game, it would be a different feel. I mean, It would be like the Bills playing with Matt Barkley. It's not the team that got you here. So not that you can't win with the backup, but I'm glad Mahomes playing. I'm glad he's going to be Mahomes tomorrow. And I still think the Bills have the kind of team that can beat them. And it's amazing to think about where we were 2 years ago with this franchise, even last year, to think that the Bills can go head-to-head with the Chiefs offensively and beat them.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think we'll have to see how much the toe will affect. But today there was some news as Kenny Stills being activated from the practice squad. Now, that doesn't mean he's active for the game. We'll wait and we'll find that out an hour and a half before kickoff tomorrow. But Kenny Stills being activated from the practice squad. We know Gabriel Davis did not practice this week. He kind of came up with an ankle injury after the first half against the Ravens. I mean, Dan, I would vote to say, in your approximation, I feel like that means Kenny Stills I feel like that means he'll be out there.
Yeah, it's not a good sign for Gabriel Davis playing in the game. He was limited on Friday, didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday. Obviously came up gimpy in the first half. It was one of the first drives where he kind of let a ball go through his hands in the end zone.
Yeah.
It seems to me like, not that you miss a beat with having Kenny Stills, because he's such a luxury to have a veteran to be able to fill in a role in an AFC championship game. But it is a concern because he just hasn't been out there as much. And yes, Gabriel Davis is the fourth target in this offense, maybe fifth, wherever you want to put Dawson Knox. But guys, we're not talking about this game if it's not for Gabriel Davis's two unbelievable sideline catches at the end of the first half of the Colts game. So it's something. I don't know how much it is, but this just means Cole Beasley again. And I said it last week. John Brown kind of got back into action against Baltimore. He's the guy that I need to see step up. The Ravens or the Chiefs secondary isn't great. And I think Josh Allen gets back on track to looking like he had during the regular season.
Yeah, I'm going to say this. I think Beasley gets targets tomorrow. I think, I heard Stephon Diggs talking about it, and he said Beasley was open and the ball just didn't come to him. It's just the way it worked out because he wasn't as big a factor in the game. But I think he gets the ball more, and I think he's a bigger factor, which they're going to need. Obviously they're going to Diggs. You've seen a lot of things of them going to Knox in the red zone because Kansas City's defense is not good in the red zone, and the tight ends can get open there. So that's always a possibility too, getting those guys going. But I think that Gabe Davis thing, if he does play tomorrow, I'll be surprised just because he was so limited.
Mike, we had a comment from you from the Q crew. It says, Mike's a little early for the tailgate.
I know. Nobody's here with me at the moment. And by the way, they are allowing tailgating here tomorrow. Bills fans, very up for that. So they'll be out here because they haven't got a tailgate all year. Kansas City does it really well. I mean, like tablecloths, barbecue, they're not smashing tables. They do it differently. How about if I say that? a
A
little different
tablecloth?
out here.
Is that what sets it
Yeah,
apart? No, there
tablecloth.
was someone that asked.
Yes.
Yeah, there was someone that asked, "What is the weather like currently?" And then as we head into tomorrow, what's it looking like out there?
So it's not really that cold. I mean, I don't know, 30 something, whatever it is. There's been this slight little bit of the weather guys call it grapple, right? It's not snow, it's not rain, whatever that stuff is. It blows around a little bit. But tomorrow is supposed to get colder, and tomorrow is supposed to be rainy. So in the afternoon, now I don't know if that'll continue into the game, but the game is, big game will be going on at this time or close to it this time tomorrow. Again, it will be going on 6:40. So yeah, I think this is about what we're going to see. Nothing too bad. It's not windy at all. So I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow, but it's pretty still. So yeah, I hope weather's no factor at all. Kurt Warner will be happy because he doesn't think weather should be a factor in any game. And then they don't let him throw the ball, man. Let's see a lot of that tomorrow.
Thomas Burke had a comment saying, "Hey Dan, is Josh going toe to toe versus Mahomes?" And it's a very good pun, Thomas, going off of Mahomes with the battling the turf toe. But Josh can't think that. Like, out of all the games, Josh can't think that he's going up against the reigning Super Bowl MVP with something to prove. In the last game, Warren Sharp talked about how he felt that Josh was trying to prove it. And it does happen. You hear about it more in college, too. I heard it a lot talked about in the college football playoff where Justin Fields wanted to prove that he was better than Trevor Lawrence and that he was the better draft prospect. And that does happen. And we talk about, well, the media gets to motivate the team. The players will look for anything, any little edge to motivate them. But Warren Sharp was talking about that there's all this talk about who's got the stronger arm, Allen or Mahomes. And obviously Mike did a great story about how they'll be forever linked because of the 2017 draft and how Mahomes has found a way to actually help out both franchises for the better. He's had an impact on both franchises. But that Allen cannot go into this game thinking that he's going up against Patrick Mahomes. It was the same thing when we always would ask him, "Hey, Josh, what's it like going up against Tom Brady? How are you going to handle this?" And Josh always says the same thing, Jenna. He always says, "I go up against the Patriots defense. I don't go up against the quarterback." But like, there is some of that in the back of your head. He's human.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I think some of the concerns are, though, that in those early matchups against Tom Brady, I felt like you would see Josh play a little scared. That was also when his rookie season and even last year, I felt like there was that feeling of maybe the moment being too big. Now, I don't think that's been the case this year, but I think there is that human element of also not having as much experience. I think of the one kind of thing that stands out in my mind is, Dan, when we were watching the Colts game, their first playoff game of this past run, and you heard Lee Smith yell something to Josh, and we had to run it back. We're like, what did he say? He said, "Joshy, slow down." I think that's going to be Lee Smith in his ear or his teammates in his ear, reminding him that he doesn't have to do it all himself every single play. We've seen Josh take steps in learning that lesson, but you don't want to see shades of Houston or things like that. So I think it's going to take his teammates also being like, "Hey, man, you don't need to do this all on your own."
All right, guys. Two of the most important players on the field, not quarterbacks tomorrow, not wide receivers, are guys on defense. Tyrann Mathieu does so many things and is so important to their defense. They give him a little free rein. They let him play to his instincts. He is smart. He is tough. He is one of those guys that once you see him on the field, you realize how valuable he is to this Kansas City defense. And for Micah Hyde, he's got responsibility of the deep ball. He's done that better than anybody, and nobody gets deep quicker and more effectively than Hill. So those two safeties are veteran guys. Hyde's been around a little longer, but so important. And for Bills fans watching, you hear all about their offense. They've got some guys like Frank Clark that can make plays on defense. Yeah. And certainly in a guy like Mathieu that can make plays on defense. And those guys are going to be so important. Plus, you got Matt Milano, who didn't play in the first game, matching up because Travis Kelce, we all know, is a beast. And then let's see what the Bills can do, because the other thing is, they didn't have John Feliciano in that first game.
Yep.
And Kansas City really took advantage on the inside. Feliciano also a key guy tomorrow for the Bills to hold up, keep that inside for Josh Allen, keep that pressure from coming up in the middle.
Guys, we talked a lot about and we criticized Sean McDermott for and Leslie Frazier for his defensive game plan against the Chiefs back in week 6, where he pretty much turned Patrick Mahomes into a game manager. But they got tore up by Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They gave up over 200 yards on the ground. Obviously, we talked about guys that weren't in the game. Matt Milano, Tremaine Edmonds was still nursing a shoulder injury at that time. I think Sean McDermott does the same game plan. I think that if Sean McDermott, if we, and hear me out in the chat, Mike, but if you could say right now that Patrick Mahomes throws for 225 yards and 2 touchdowns, the Bills will take that every single time and play with whatever the rest of the game holds.
As long as Kansas City's not running for 245 and keeping Josh off the field the whole game. And I think that's where it was different because Kansas City maintained the ball. What did the Bills have it in the second half when they played in week 6? Some crazy amount of time. It was only like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So, yes, that's the other part of it, right? Yes, if you keep Mahomes controlled where he's not killing you and he's not making those big plays, fantastic. But you got to have the ball, too.
But I will say, if they were – how do I say this? Like, I would expect the Bills' run defense to be better and for them to not run the ball.
It's hard to be worse.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to be worse. So if they weren't getting the same amount of carries and positive yardage and first downs, wouldn't they try to have Patrick Mahomes throw the ball more?
Yes, I think you make a good point because they really never got pushed to have Mahomes make big plays in the air the last game. When they needed a play, they either ran for it or he ran for it or, I mean, he got one to Kelsey for a touchdown. They ran another one in. He never was pushed to make those big plays offensively.
But, Mike, do you really want to gamble with asking Patrick Mahomes, like, oh, well, let's see if Patrick Mahomes can beat us? Because he will.
No.
Like, that's the thing, is
that's
that, like, Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier took Mahomes.
I don't know if Dan cut out and Mike cut out. Can people hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, there's a phenomenal screen grab of Dan right now.
Dan was mad at us. No, he's right. No, I don't think you go there and say, let Mahomes go wild. I think you probably have a similar idea of saying, we're not going to give up those big, big plays. We're going to do what we can to keep it in front of us, more so than Tyreek Hill going 65 yards down the field. But at the same time, it was too easy for Kansas City the last time. Too easy for them to move the ball. And they just consistently did it. And they maintained the ball the whole time. And I felt like Mahomes was sort of toying with them a little bit. I was really disappointed in that game. And in a weird way, Jenna, with this phenomenal season, that was kind of the low point of the year. You lost to the Super Bowl champs by what ended up being 9 points, but because they had lost 2 in a row and they just didn't look like themselves. And from that point on, they've been, phenomenal.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think coming into that game, they got blown out by the Titans. It was kind of like, what team are we going to see? What is it going to be like? And then to go against the Chiefs, and like you said, like that was only a 6-point loss for the Bills, but the dominance of their run game and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, like that was, I feel like when we've talked about it, like sometimes when players are getting 5 yards to carry, 6 yards to carry, 4 yards to carry, 11 yards to carry, like that is demoralizing for a defense. And after having, the Titans play so well against them, I think that was the game-changing kind of moment if you were to look at this season, Mike. Like that was kind of the crucible moment for this team.
Yes. And the sound is not, but it's a man-on-man game. And when the team is throwing the ball deep on you, that's what ball guys make plays. But when they are running it down your throat during a game, Dan, as soon as you left, we start talking about the run game. When they are running it down your throat during a game, it's demoralizing. And I think you got to look back at yourself and say, we got to do things better. Now, Milano's a really good player for this defense. He helps in a lot of ways. And you know who else didn't play in that game? Because he really didn't play in the first half of the season, is Tremaine Edmonds, who has been so much better in the second half of the year. And being facetious saying he didn't play, but he wasn't Tremaine Edmonds in the first half of the year. He didn't look like himself. He's got to be ready tomorrow. He's got to make some big plays for them tomorrow.
Dan, are you good now?
I think so. I don't want to just totally call out my internet provider, but it's awful.
I'll ask you who your internet provider is.
It's that Spectrum. It's just awful.
Please call John Scott up. He can get it fixed for us.
Yeah,
that is true. All right, let's just quickly go through our picks just to remind people for tomorrow. Okay. Mike, why don't we start with you since you're out there?
I'm sorry. You were breaking up? You had me go first because I'm winning in the competition?
No,
you were relentless.
That wasn't it, Mike.
Come on. This game, my mind is triggered to pick against the Bills in this game because I've just seen too many of these games. I feel so differently about this team. They go into a game, I'm confident in them. And I'm confident that if it doesn't even start great, they can come back. And that they have become a balanced team in the 2021 NFL because the defense is good. Doesn't mean they're going to shut people out, but they're good and they can make plays. I got the Bills winning at 30-27 and going to Tampa because it's that kind of year for the Bills.
And tell everyone your record as well this season picking games. I
don't like talking about the fact that I'm 17-1 picking the Bills games this year. I mean, it's 17 out of 18, and I apologize for getting the one wrong. I don't know what got over me, but the game was on a Tuesday, so that shouldn't count anyhow.
Gosh, figure it out.
Now you guys can go.
How do you follow up that? All right, Dan, we'll go to you.
This game, I have more confidence in this game in a weird way than I did against Baltimore. It has something to do with the matchup. It has something to do with this Bills team almost seemingly playing with house money, almost playing more relaxed in this game. I see this game as the Bills went up against two really, really good defenses. The Colts and Baltimore both in the top 10. The Chiefs aren't. While I respect Frank Clark and I respect Tyrann Mathieu for the great players that they are, this just isn't a defense that scares me. And I know that Chiefs fans, there's one of them in here and saying that, we'll shut down Josh and our defense is better than it is. The defense got tore up by Baker Mayfield last week. They got lucky on the worst rule in sports by going into the fumble through the end zone. This is a defense that is vulnerable. This is a game that I see Josh Allen and the Bills offense getting back on track and looking like the team that was averaging before the playoffs close to 47 points a game. I don't think they get up that high, but I think this is a game where they start to find their rhythm again. And this could be going back and forth in this one because I have more confidence in this week in the Bills offense. I have more confidence in the Bills defense. I've got more confidence in the Bills kicker. I've got more confidence in a lot of things in a really weird way. And skill position players, like this is a game that I just think the Bills fit. Like they just match up better in this game. Second time around too, Jenna. I think I had it at 27-23 win.
Okay. I thought, okay, yeah. I have the Bills winning this game, but my concern is just the crowd and that type of environment that the Bills have not played in. I mean, this is their biggest away game crowd since Houston, and this is a different team than what we saw in Houston, 100%. But I'm wondering how that will affect Buffalo, especially if they start to struggle early on and the Chiefs score some points and the Bills are down a little bit. Like, I don't know. I know this team has the ability to come back and their ability to, Stephon Diggs has been phenomenal this season, Allen as well. And like Dan said, though, I really think there are weaknesses on this Chiefs defense. There really are. And I think that Josh Allen, we haven't really seen him be that high flying, passing offense that we're really been used to in terms of like 47 points a game, something crazy. But I feel like there's an opportunity tomorrow for this team to get back to that. And with how well the defense is playing and the confidence that they have after coming and, containing Lamar Jackson, limiting Baltimore to just a field goal, I have the Bills winning this game. And also, sidebar, I just really would love to go to Tampa. I know plenty of Bills fans would also love to go to Tampa.
I snowblowed my driveway today. So yeah, I'd like to go to Tampa too.
Exactly.
So many great storylines in this game. Mahomes and Allen, the trade that brought Mahomes to Kansas City, and then the Bills built their whole team, got Allen the next year. But in a way, none better than Sean McDermott going against Andy Reid for a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Andy Reid made Sean McDermott a coach in the NFL. Andy Reid fired him 10 years ago this past week. Sean McDermott came back. Andy Reid's his biggest supporter, and now he stands in the way of Andy trying to get back to a Super Bowl and McDermott trying as a head coach to get to his first. I think it's a great storyline for this game tomorrow. And in addition to these two franchises that, as we said, met 27 years ago to go to the Super Bowl. Bills haven't been back, and that first Super Bowl they went to was in Tampa. And Tom Brady's still around. So we'll see what happens with him tomorrow.
There are plenty more storylines. Like you said, we'll have plenty of stories up on buffaloplus.com as well as our YouTube page. We also have another preview tomorrow. That'll be at what time, Mike?
I think we said 2:30 tomorrow, right? Because we want to do it.
Yep.
We want you guys to be able to watch before. I know everybody's going to want to watch Green Bay and Tampa tomorrow, which would be a great game too. And that's leading basically right up to our game here. So, and then we'll have coverage from after the game. I'll be out here and we'll get our plans ready for Tampa if it happens.
All right, we're closing in. So join us tomorrow at 2:30 on buffaloplus.com or as well as on the YouTube page. Mike is going to go get some barbecue, I'm assuming, tonight. Maybe check in with some Bills fans. Dan and I will hold it down here in Western New York. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again tomorrow at 2 o'clock when the Bills play. A little preview we'll have as Buffalo getting ready for the AFC Championship. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fates, I am Jenna Cottrell. Thank you for following along. We'll see you tomorrow.